Hello, Augies worldwide, meaning subscribers worldwide. YouTube wants us to have a name for our collection of subscribers, and I've picked OG, or Augie, someone who follows OG. Now, I recognize that an Augie is a Welsh pastry, so you could do that too. I guess they're both sweet. Anyway, today's question comes from T.G. Bo Henderson. Okay, he doesn't give a call sign. He says, I understand that once a radio wave hits the ionosphere, it splits into left-hand and right-hand circularly polarized waves. That is true. Note that these two waves do not follow the same path after refraction by the ionosphere. There is the so-called ordinary wave and the extraordinary wave. So the ordinary wave and the extraordinary wave is just how it happens to be split. Now, as that wave comes down through the ionosphere, it twists. It can be twisted some more by other layers of the ionosphere. When you reflect it off a surface, reflections, you can know this with visible light, tend to be polarized. So if you're driving down a road into the sun and the glare from the road just disables you, try Polaroid sunglasses. They are designed to take that glare and they'll let through orthogonally polarized waves so that it's not near as much glare. So we use polarization in our everyday life without knowing it. Photographers know that if they use a polarizing filter and they're shooting 90 degrees from where the sun is, they can make the sky almost disappear, almost go black in there, or they can get it wherever they want it and be artistic with it. I like using that polarization a lot. Now, his question is, I also know that you can lose 20 dB. I will say about 20 dB, give or take 10 dB, if the antenna polarization does not match the radio wave polarization. Okay, so understand that if you have a linearly polarized antenna, like a dipole, horizontally polarized, and what comes down to you is circularly polarized waves, that antenna is still going to pick up a large part of it, okay? And that's how we normally do things. We send up planar polarized waves. They're turned into the ordinary wave and the extraordinary wave. And usually our station will receive what's like collapsing the polarized wave onto the x-axis. Now, if it happens to be the wrong polarization, you won't get so much. So why doesn't anyone use circularly polarized antennas for at least 10 through 20 meters where they would be small enough to be practical? Well, then without that, you are certain to pick up only the ordinary wave or the extraordinary wave, but not both. However, you can construct a circularly, or at least an elliptically polarized antenna easily for HF. Let me show you how. This comes from one of the ARRL books on propagation. Construct a dipole, okay? Now construct another dipole that's at 90 degrees. So this right here is 90, 90, 90, 90. Now feed these dipoles in the center. Now you've got the one dipole coming up over the other like this. And you've got a feed point here and a feed point here, a feed point here and a feed point here. So take these two feed points right here and connect them to a quarter wavelength piece of coax. Now, it's quarter electrical wavelength. Okay, you might want to double and triple check it with your antenna analyzer to make sure it really is a quarter wavelength, and then bring this part over to here and this part over to here. So you're feeding this other dipole 90 degrees out of phase. This will collect polarized waves that are circularly polarized, will excite this, then this, then this, then this, and it just goes around in a grand merry-go-round. Now, those who are interested in mathematics, this is the equivalent of a sine wave generator that comes from a circle and creates a sine wave going off in one direction. And if you take it off, it's a circle the other way. It's a sine wave that goes this way or this way. So by flipping the polarization here, you can flip the polarization of the antenna from the ordinary wave to the extraordinary wave, or left hand to right hand. polarization. Now, if there is no bounce off the ionosphere, it could very well still be a planar polarized wave. So you just switch to your old antenna and pick up what you can. End on is not good, but the other way is great. Okay, so this will create a polarized receive antenna. Can you transmit through that? Absolutely. Will you get circularly polarized waves out of that? Absolutely. Now, if you want to, you can put a little switch installation in here. It's double pole, double throw. So here's your feed line coming in here. And you can just put a simple double pole, double throw relay in here. So you can either go like this or you can go like that, okay? To switch that polarization over, that will switch the sense of the antenna. You can get little keying relays and feed them with a bias T and some switch in your shack where you can just turn that relay one way or another. Now, this is quite something to construct. You've got to have poles, and I'd put a pole at the center because it's got to hold up the weight of all that coax hanging there, the loop, and your little relay switch, and you can power the relay switch through your coax if you use the right bias T arrangements. Okay, and that will give you a polarized antenna. Now, most of the time we don't use polarized antennas. They are a lot of work to build. That definitely will only work on 20 meters. And as you get out toward the band edges, it will work a little bit less. So the helically wound coil antennas are good up above, like 920 megahertz, some place like that, where you're transmitting to satellites using other than FM modes. Those things will work for you. And you've got one going this way, one going the other way, and you can change the sense of the polarization as you need to. One antenna that sends right-hand circular polarization. So here's your right hand. That means the coils go this way, it winds its way out. And when a signal comes in that's left-hand polarized, it uses that as the receive antenna. Okay, so you build two antennas and you can switch between them as you need to. This is kind of a specialized application, but there is discussion of it in the antenna handbook. Okay, so there you have it. Thank you for suggesting the circular polarized antenna. I've always wanted to build one of these. I guess I should. So, until we next meet, 73.